Hello and welcome to the Curios Cast and a close encounter of the third kind.
So Spotify have done an update. Anyone who's listening to the Curios Cast on Spotify, I think that's around about 30 to 40% of you. Quite a few of you do tune in via Spotify. There's a new update. You can now rate podcasts. You can't leave a review. You can't type anything, but you can give us 5 stars. That's your only option, 5 stars, nothing else. We won't accept anything else. We will be writing to Spotify if anyone gives us a review any less than that, because it's just fake. It's not legitimate. So if you enjoy listening to us, which hopefully you do, give us a little 5 stars.
Excellent. Plug.
And also, if you're not listening on Spotify as well, like wherever you're listening, 5 stars.
Can I ask, by the way, when you did that intro, George, what were you looking at? Were you looking at an alien spacecraft that was actually coming to
the alien spacecraft? No, my camera's there.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Oh, fair enough.
Because I've noticed that when I've done it in the past, I've looked at you two. So on the camera, on the video, it's just me looking away from the camera.
Weird
doing
for the
intro.
intro, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I didn't know if there was a spacecraft in your kitchen right now, and that's what you were going to talk about. That would have been sick.
Well, there might be one in the kitchen. I'm not in the kitchen.
All right.
Who knows what's going on in there?
Did you think he was in the kitchen?
I always thought he was in the kitchen, yeah. I don't know why.
See, because of this
like his office.
Yeah.
This is very kitcheny, isn't it?
It's a little kitcheny, that thing, yeah.
Do you like my new plant?
I do like your new plant. That's very nice. Thank you.
Going up in the world. That's YouTube.
I say thank you. YouTube.
You need a plant in your background, Rob. You're the only one.
I do need a plant. I was meant to have plants.
And you're probably the most planty out of all of us.
I know. Well, I bought plants to go there.
And I
was
what sort of plant you'd have up there.
Now. I was going to put these little boxes and drill them into the wall, but I don't do things, do I? I'll just say. So
maybe he has got a plant there, and it's just Vantablack.
Yeah,
if you Vantablacked your plant,
that's it. Because everything. That's exactly what happened.
All right, George. What encounters are you going to be talking about?
Well, we all know how much Tom enjoys talking about stuff that may or may not be true. So this is, again, I know I say it quite often with my topics, this is, again, something that I remember reading about when I was a kid, and I really enjoyed the story. And I recently read about it again because the guy it involves was on Joe Rogan, I think, at the start of last year. Friend of the podcast, Joe Rogan.
Yep. Give him 5 stars as well while you're at it. He needs it.
Yeah, he does need it. I think he does need it since he's going to Spotify. No one likes it, do they?
No, it got better again.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, it was all weird. Anyway, yeah.
Anyway, fuck him.
Yeah, fuck.
So this is the story of Travis Walton. Rob, have you heard of the Travis Walton abduction?
I have not.
Oh, I thought maybe, because I know you mentioned the Betty and Barney Hill abductions that's way back when, right?
Yeah, that's like Abduction 1.0, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember how much we spoke about it. I think, wasn't it just in passing in that episode we spoke about it? Or did you go into...
No, I went into a bit of detail about it, I think, yeah.
I think it was on, wasn't it on the conspiracy episode?
I think it was on the alien,
where Rob proved that aliens were real.
Yeah.
Episode 11, for anyone who wants to go back and listen to that.
Well, the further proof is about to enter your ears tonight.
Amazing.
So this happened in 1975. So I think Barney and Betty Hill was in 1961. So this happened after the Barney and Betty Hill abductions. And for anyone that doesn't know about that abduction, I will mention it again later on. But yeah, if you want to listen to it more in depth, then like Tom says, go and listen to episode 11. That is a great episode in general.
It is a good episode.
Probably better than this one. So give it a go.
Nice lengthy one as well. It's the second longest episode we've ever done.
Yeah.
Third now, actually, because we recorded the 50th episode special.
It's got real girth, that one, yeah, as well as length.
Yeah.
So this is one of the most famous cases of so-called close encounters of the third kind, which is when someone has like a UFO experience, but it involves an actual alien. So I think the first and second kind, someone sees a UFO or something like that. And then second kind, I think, is if they have some sort of interaction with it or something. I forget the exact terminology, but then the third kind is an actual being being involved, which I think is why the famous film which is a good film, is called Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah, there's a film called Fourth Kind as well, isn't there? I think it's like a horror film. Really? Yeah. And I remember watching it at the time because it's one of those films similar to like Blair Witch or whatever, where it's marketed as though it's a real thing and it's got like real found footage, and then they piece together the parts with acting. And I bought into it so hard because I was about 13, and I remember watching it around a friend's house, and we were scared shitless that aliens were going to come and like take over our brain and make us kill each other and shit. Like, it's a good film.
Have you watched the Signs? Do you remember the film Signs?
I remember that. Was that I was going to say Tom Hanks. I don't mean that. Mel Gibson. That's what I meant. Yeah.
I haven't watched it, but I know of it. I can
remember everyone losing their minds about that scene in that when the alien like crosses. It's like a found footage thing, and there's this alien that crosses the street or something. A bit like the Bigfoot, the famous Bigfoot video. Sort of looks back at the camera. I can remember at school, like everyone losing their minds about it.
I remember that.
Yeah. Maybe that's why I've got an alien obsession now, because I used to watch shit like that when I was younger. So anyway, this is about 22-year-old Travis Walton, who was a logger. So he was working with a logging crew, so cutting down trees, and I think they were clearing like a big patch of forest in Arizona.
I think maybe I've heard about this.
You have, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. It's a good one, though. Yeah.
Strap in. Yeah. Strap in, Tom.
A logger is a good job title, isn't it?
That is a good job title, yeah.
Yeah. Mm. What's your name? Travis, the logger.
That is a good, solid logger name, isn't it, Travis?
Yeah.
You know Travis the logger? Yeah, I know Travis the logger. Solid logger, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. Do you know Travis in it? Yeah. I think he's that logger. Yeah. Yeah.
What's that logger's name? Travis.
I feel like you can only be either
How many
a logger,
ways can we do this? The name's the logger. Can only be Travis the logger.
You heard from Travis lately? Yeah. You mean the old logger? Yeah.
Oh God. And you were worried it wouldn't be funny, Tom. Comedy already. Highbrow comedy as well. Yeah. So Travis the logger, who's 22, was working with 6 other loggers. They weren't all called Travis. I'm not too sure of their exact names. Out in like a remote patch of forest in Arizona. And then at the end of the day, they were packing up. They got their stuff back in a big work van and all piled in the van. And the sun was just starting to set, so it was early evening, and they noticed that ahead of them there was like a strange sort of glow coming through the trees. At first they thought it was maybe hunters, because it was deer hunting season. That time of day was like the normal time of day that hunters would be out in that area. They thought, maybe it's from a tent. It looked a bit like it was coming through like canvas or something. So they thought it was probably going to be deer hunters. We're going to pass them on the track out of the forest anyway, so we'll figure it out.
It's a good job they didn't just think it was. It's a good job they didn't just think it was a Bigfoot and just randomly open fire on them, because that's just
I think now that's what would happen. Yeah,
well, that happened in the previous story, didn't it? That was a. Is that more of a modern phenomenon? You think
modern phenomenon?
You spoke about that.
Yeah, that was like was episode 1. That was like Curios classic. A man getting shot. If it's happened, we've spoken about it 3 times, I think.
And I think every time we talk about it, we go, "Was that episode 1?" Yeah. If you want to hear more about that, don't bother, because episode 1's probably awful.
It's a bit like the foghorns over Essex, the Essex estuary.
Tent pole topic over here. It keeps the show upright.
Tent pole topic. I've not heard that. Is that a real saying?
Yeah, I think so. I've only ever heard it on another podcast. But just I guess you have sort of like a couple main tentpole topics that keep the structure of the podcast that is apparently a tent in its analogy.
So our one's Bigfoot, Thames Estuary foghorns,
bodily
and ghouls and
fluids,
ghosts,
maybe. Yeah,
bodily fluids.
Cum,
probably.
Yeah.
We haven't had a good cum story for a while.
I thought tent poling was just when you got an erection in your trousers. It's like going up like a tent.
Maybe I'm getting mixed up.
I think you should write into that podcast. Complain.
Right, yeah.
Get him on.
Get him on.
Anyway,
it wasn't Joe Rogan, was it?
Nah.
Where were we before I really?
Anyway, so they were looking at the this light in the trees ahead of them.
Oh yeah.
And they carried on down this dirt track, heading out the forest, and the track brought them into a clearing where the light was coming from. As they entered the clearing, they were expecting to see a camp, like a couple of tents, or even like a car or something with the headlights on. However, the group were left dumbfounded and shocked because ahead of them stood a strangely shaped craft hovering just off of the ground, around 100 feet away, bathed in a strong white light. Naturally, the van stopped and they started discussing, what the hell is that? A few of them were scared. They wanted to leave straight away. As they were looking at the object, they all heard a loud, high-pitched buzzing noise, at which point Walton, so Travis, states that he felt a compelling urge to leave the van, the logger. He felt a compelling urge to leave the van and head towards the light, which he did. He opened the door, got out of the van, started walking towards this craft. His colleagues were trying to stop him. They got out of the van, were shouting at him to get back in. They wanted to leave straight away. However, he ignored them and he began to run straight towards this craft, straight towards the light. As he did, the group reported seeing an intense flash of light before Walton vanished. He just disappeared. Walton said that as he approached the light, he felt the sensation of passing out, and that was it. Didn't remember anything else. And as soon as Travis vanished, the light rose up from the forest floor and rose up and shot off into the night sky, obviously leaving the group pretty scared, didn't really know what was going on. They tried to look for Walton. They had a quick look around in a nearby area, but basically they shit themselves and they all ran, got back in the car and got out of there and reported it to the police, who disbelieved the group, probably naturally. If you had a group of crazy loggers coming out, and they, the police probably thought, who's missing? Travis. The logger.
Where's that other logger?
Where's
Travis?
That? What's his name? Oh, fucking Travis.
Yeah. Where's Travis? Who's Travis? The logger.
So they were immediately placed under suspicion of either murdering Travis or doing something to Travis that has caused him to disappear. So the police questioned them. All of the men reported the same thing. So independent, they all told the same story, reported the same events. And they also did lie detector tests as well, and they all passed. So all of the polygraph tests indicated that they were telling the truth. So what they were just telling what they thought they saw. So obviously Travis was missing. No one knew where Travis had gone, and a search operation was undertaken in the forest around and a little bit further away. But yeah, everyone just thought, okay, something's happened. They've had an argument. They've killed him. They've hidden the body out in the forest somewhere. I think two of his brothers were really convinced by it, and they just spent hours every day just looking under all the piles of brush and logs that they were obviously cutting down and piling up to see if he was under there, but couldn't find him.
How long for? How long was he gone?
So he was gone for 5 days.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a good little segue. So just about to go on to that paragraph, Tom.
Okay.
So he was missing for 5 days, and he was eventually found wandering, dishevelled, dehydrated and confused along a state highway some distance away from where he'd vanished. And he was immediately taken to hospital. So he'd lost 10 to 12 pounds when he was found. I'm not really too sure how that translates to kilograms or stone.
A stone is 14 pounds, so just under a stone. And 12 pounds is probably about 5 kilograms. Maybe look it up. Yeah, 5.4. Fucking. I've said it before, but Mr. Metric System over here. Get me to convert small amounts of weights and I can get within sort of 20 to 30% accuracy.
Yeah, nice. Amazing skills.
It's like Rain Man.
Yeah. That'll be my Guinness World Record attempt, is that.
What about
how's the burping going?
I've been practicing. I've been drinking more carbonated drinks than ever before. I did look into the criteria to submit. If you want to beat a world record, you have to submit an application form before you even try it. It take 12 weeks to get back to you to say, yeah, go for it. These are like the criteria you need. Then you do it, and then when you submit all your evidence back, it takes another 12 weeks to actually get back to you. So I need to get going with the process if I want to make the 2023 world record book. But I'm completely sort of derailing us here, but I did buy the Guinness World Record 2022 book.
Looks like a sponsor.
Yeah. I used to get it every year for Christmas, and I got to an age where now I have to buy myself the Guinness World Record book. So I'm gonna have a flick through this and see what else I can beat. There's a lot in there that obviously I can't, like tallest person. And oldest person. Like, it's gonna be a while before I can go for that one. But yeah, biggest spaceship, not spaceship, like rocket ship and stuff. Like, I ain't gonna build that. But loudest burp, I reckon I can do it.
Yeah. I always used to get the Ripley's Believe It or Not annual for Christmas.
That's a classic. Yeah,
that's a good one. Yeah,
I used to get the Beano annual. Actually, no, I used to get the Dandy annual. My sister used to get the Beano, and I would get the Dandy.
Oh,
but I actually preferred the Beano, really. But we couldn't both get the same. So I was all right with the Dandy, but I liked nicking my sister's Beano afterwards.
Mm.
There you go. Little. I bet you're glad you knew that.
Does the Beano still exist? Do they still print it, or is it something that's now digital only?
That's a great question. It's probably an NFT or something, isn't it now?
I was never into it.
I used to like the Beano.
Yeah.
We're from a different era.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
Analog era, you know?
Yeah, I was into my computers and that, wasn't I?
I remember it was like 30p or something as well. Can't buy anything for 30p now, can you? No. Not even a Freddo.
Buy a Freddo for 30p.
Can't even buy a Freddo for 30p.
World's gone mad. World's gone mad, mate.
Anyway, so this guy, Travis the Logger, he lost 12 pounds of weight.
Back.
Lost
5
kilograms.
Is that, so how much did you say it was? Sorry, how many kilograms?
5.4.
0.4 kilograms. So, I mean, it's not low. I guess you could just not drink in 5 days and you probably lose that in water weight, wouldn't you? I'm just trying to think, is that like a mad amount to lose in 5 days or not?
Yeah, no, you probably...
I guess not, because aren't you like 75% water anyway or something?
Yeah, you lose a lot of weight, but like
you do,
before like weigh-ins and stuff, boxers and shit will like not drink. They like, dehydrate themselves.
They can cut like sort of, usually about 8 to 10 pounds in the space of a few days. Yeah. But it is quite intense. Like, they purposely are like...
Yeah, it's not great for you.
In like saunas and stuff, sweating it out and everything and whatever.
But this dude was wandering about fucking, where are they? Like Texas or somewhere?
Arizona. Yeah, but also not eating as well. Like, that's the thing. If you've got a bit of fat on you, like, and you don't eat for a few days and don't drink, then you can lose that.
Well, I think Travis was a mean, lean logging machine. You know, I don't think
that's true. He probably can't have been fat. Yeah, that's true.
Nah.
I think there was a picture of him when he's younger, and he looks like he's in good shape. You know, he's
like a fucking lumberjack. Yeah.
Yeah, cutting them trees down. That's it, lumberjack. That was the word I was looking for earlier instead of logger.
Yeah, well, that's the UK.
I think I'd rather be a.
Oh, is that?
I'd rather be a lumberjack than a logger.
Does sound manlier. Logger. Yeah. Is logger the American equivalent of lumberjack, or?
I think so, because in Canada they use lumberjack as well. But I think there's more of a link with. British
they're a bit
English
more UK,
Canada.
aren't they?
Yeah. Anyway, why are we talking about lumberjacks? So, so he was found wandering dishevelled, dehydrated and confused, having lost 10 to 12 pounds. He was taken to hospital and immediately questioned. And Walton reported the events exactly as the other men had in the clearing. Reported seeing this object being struck by like a beam of light before being knocked unconscious. However, in addition, he reported that the next thing that he remembered, so he remembers the clearing, and then he remembers being on this road 5 days later. I mean, he didn't know it was 5 days later, but he knew he was there.
Yeah.
In between then, he remembers waking up in great pain and was like, he spent a lot of time slipping in and out of consciousness, so he was sort of not really with it. He estimates for 2 to 4 hours, just sort of knowing that he's somewhere, but not being able to to really wake up and focus on anything.
Yeah.
But eventually, when he did come to, he said he was in a hospital-like room, like a metallic, white, very plain room that he said it was like a hospital. He was laying back on his back on the raised table with a single beam of light above him, which is maybe why I thought it was a hospital. You know, sometimes you have those.
Yeah, the operating lamp things.
Yeah. And as soon as he woke up and he realised where he was, he reported just feeling waves of fear, like sort of rolling over him. And he spent some time just staring at the light before he realised out the corner of his eye that he saw three creatures watching him.
Oh.
So he saw three beings in the corner of his eye watching him, and obviously looked at them a bit more closely. He said they were short, hairless creatures with elongated heads and larger pale eyes. So like a classic sort of alien. This was before like I guess it wasn't really before, but
like the stereotypical like little green man type thing.
Yeah.
So I think like Roswell in the 50s, that was the start of like this grey alien sort of craze. Everyone reporting the aliens with the big eyes, and it's the same as Betty and Barney Hill. They also said that the aliens that they saw were the same. And yeah, Travis Walton says the same. Large pale eyes, long heads, with completely no hair at all. He reported seeing these three creatures, obviously reacted in fear as they came towards him, and he tried to hit the one closest to him.
That's such a logger move,
straight away,
isn't it?
just going for it.
It just goes to bang them out.
Reminds me a bit like Randy out of South Park. Yeah, imagine Travis is a bit like that. I don't know if you watch South Park at all, but
yeah.
You get, it feels a bit like that.
Yeah. Or
just
did he say, what's the line? Like, welcome to Earth. And then,
yeah. What, from Men in Black? Independence Day,
yeah.
I also quickly,
so he tried,
just before you crack on, George, I looked up what the close encounter categories were. Close encounters of the first kind, visual sightings of an unidentified flying object. So basically, if you see something flying away, less than 500 feet away, that show a thing, right? Close encounters of the second kind, a UFO event in which a physical effect is alleged. This can be interference in the functioning of a vehicle or electronic device. You know, people say my car stopped working and when I saw this thing flying. Animals reacting. The dog was going mental. A physiological effect such as paralysis or heat and discomfort in the witness, or some physical trace-like impressions in the ground, scorched or otherwise affected vegetation.
That's all second encounters, right?
That's all second. And then third is UFO, which is animated entity as president. So president is present. Humanoids, robots and humans who seem to be occupants or pilots. So I get, even if you see a little dude inside the ship that you see, that's third kind.
Does it say fourth kind, or is that just made up for the film?
There's no fourth kind, yeah. I think made up for the film. There is a little like extensions of Heineck's scale. Fourth kind, that was the Heineck scale, apparently. That's what that is. The fourth kind is when you're abducted.
Okay.
This was not included in the original Close Encounter scale. Someone argued that the fourth kind should refer to cases in which this experience a transformation of their sense of reality, so as to include non-abduction cases where absurd, hallucinatory or dreamlike events are associated with UFO encounters.
So this would technically be a close encounter of the fourth kind then?
I guess.
Because he's saying he was abducted, potentially. Yeah. But that's not the traditional three.
Not the traditional Heineck scale. There's also a fifth on here that says, a close encounter of the fifth kind is a UFO event claiming direct communication between aliens and humans. But surely, if the cunt speaks to you in the fourth kind, then it's now fifth.
It elevates it. Yeah, I guess that means that there's direct communication.
I guess.
Because
most people don't mention speech, do they? It's rare.
Yeah, in this case, he says that he didn't see any of them like interacting with each other. There was no facial expression changes.
Wasn't there also,
say anything.
For his lads, wasn't there affected vegetation or a chemical trace? Am I remembering the right story? I feel like there was. Like all the grass was all fucked from where they said the ship was.
Yeah, so they were like burn areas.
That's it. Yeah.
You know, scorched areas of tree stumps and grass and stuff like that, which I'll go into in a bit.
Okay. All right.
Which was one of the sort of arguments against it is that
Right.
it was just like a lightning strike potentially, and that would account for the burnt stump or something. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, that's quite interesting. So if there's communication, it elevates to a fifth counter of the fifth kind. I
looked up the film, The Fourth Kind, and it's got some pretty bad reviews. I think I'm remembering it, how cool and also scary it was when I was about 13. So yeah. But I might give it another watch, have a little, reminisce.
Do a Curios Cast screening.
Yeah.
Be good, wouldn't it?
Maybe.
Okay, so the back to Travis in this spaceship, wherever he is, tries to deck one of the aliens. Fails to. He doesn't land his punch. And the aliens sort of swarm him. The last thing he can remember is being a plastic-like mask being placed over his face. And then that's it. He blanks out, and the next thing he knows, he's waking up, walking along the highway with a police car stopping alongside him and then being taken to the hospital. So he had this strange experience that he was convinced by. He also did a lie detector test and he passed. So the polygraph said that he was being truthful. That obviously doesn't necessarily say that it happened, but what he thinks he's experienced, he's telling the truth. He's not not bullshit.
I've got a question as well, quickly. Sorry if you might mention this, or you might not know. But does you said about their stories corroborating? Is that the right word?
Corroborating, yeah.
Corroborating. Are they? Were they like interviewed? Because they picked him up, went to the hospital, and then they probably interviewed him, didn't they? So like, it wasn't like they had a chance to talk.
Yeah, no.
If you know what I mean.
At that moment, the police thought that the group had done something to him. Beat him up, or they'd had some sort of argument, tried to kill him maybe, or something like that. Yeah. So they treated him like a victim of a crime because and you're not going to let the groups interact or something like that. So
you wouldn't.
He was taken to hospital, kept under guard, and then interviewed, and he relayed the exact same thing as.
That's quite mad, isn't it?
Which is a bit strange.
Yeah.
And I think the other six, obviously, they all said the same thing, but they didn't. It wasn't like word for word. Sometimes if a group of people will say, "I saw this," and they say the exact same phrase, or it's really, really similar.
Yeah, really rehearsed.
It's like a red flag that they've rehearsed it, but they didn't. They all sort of came at it from different
put their own spin on
almost.
it.
Yeah, but it was all the timeline was exactly the same, and he obviously corroborated it with some additional experiences. Much like Barney and Betty Hill, he had like really, really severe sort of emotional distress in the weeks and months after the event. He was having nightmares, anxiety attacks, and started to have health problems as well. The link with that is Barney and Betty Hill, they had this weird experience, but they didn't actually remember having this abduction. They just remembered seen this light and then waking back up in their car, realising that loads of time had gone by, but they were like, what happened? We don't know what happened. Then over a period of, I think, a couple of weeks, they both independently started having anxiety attacks and nightmares and night terrors and stuff. And eventually they went to the doctor and had these hypnosis sessions, and then all of these experiences came out and corroborated each other's story, which is the weird thing. So they didn't actually start saying straight away, I've been abducted by an alien.
I know a guy,
very,
right?
Very similar anxiety attacks. Yeah, go ahead.
I know a guy. He wasn't abducted by an alien, but he might have been.
Did he abduct an alien?
Well, I've just realised that he might have been, because he went on a night out. It was like an afternoon out, like we got work do thing, and he had work early the next day. so he was like, well, I'm not, he thought I'll be sensible, and he left like reasonably early, and he was all pleased with himself. He left at like 7 or something, right? And he I think he lived in Barking at the time, and the stop before was whatever. What's the stop before Barking? Come from London? I don't know. West Ham, whatever around. I don't know.
Yeah,
but anyway, so he sees that stop, and then he fell asleep, and then he woke up at that stop again. But it was like 10 o'clock.
What, the next morning?
No. It was like 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, okay.
So he must have gone all...
It
was like 7 or something.
Okay.
Like, and then like he woke up at... How was it? He didn't... He woke up the stop before his stop.
Yeah.
But like 3 hours later than he expected it to be.
Okay.
He must have gone all the way to Shoeburyness, all the way back to London, perhaps 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Until he just happened to wake up the stop before he stopped and was just like, and it was dark now. I think it was in the summer, so like it wasn't dark when he was on. And he like gets off and was just like so confused, just like, what's happened? Like, I don't know what the fuck.
That's funny. That's mad. Like, even just thinking like the amount that must have been going on around him, like people getting on and off the train and stuff. So like, obviously a whole like group of people have come on and off the train like so many times. And he's been there the whole time. Yeah. I remember I had a similar one. It was when I worked in a supermarket. I used to do like the early shift, so I had to be there at I think 6:30 or something. And it was like an hour and a half on the bus. So I used to have to leave my house at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and I'd be getting a night bus to work in the morning. It was awful. And obviously, when you do those shifts, I'd be working from like 6 till 2 or something. So you get home, you're tired, and you want to go to bed by like 7-8 p.m. or something. And I remember falling asleep. I went up to my room, laid on the bed, fell asleep, and I woke up. I looked at my clock, and it was like 5 o'clock. I had to leave for work. I was late, so I was like, "Fuck!" And I like quickly just got ready. Like I think I still had my uniform on, so I was like, "Fuck it!" I just sprayed some deodorant, like ran out of the house, and ran to the bus stop. I'm like standing there waiting for the bus, and the bus comes, and it wasn't the night bus. It was just the normal bus. It wasn't the N5. It was just the 5. I was like, "Oh, what? Why is the normal bus?" But I got on it, and I'm sitting there, and then I look and I realise that on the bus it's a 24-hour clock on the thing, and it said it was 1700. It was 5 p.m. So I'd come home, I'd fallen asleep for about an hour, and then, like I fell asleep at like 4 p.m. and then woke up an hour later. Went, I gotta go to work. Because I thought it was 5 a.m. and then I just ran downstairs, and I was
brilliant.
like, yeah. From then on, I have my phone on 24-hour clock as well, because I even though it would have said 5 p.m. I was just you're tired. You don't look. I said 5 o'clock. I'm like, oh shit, ran down, and it was winter, so it was dark at 5 o'clock. So stupid.
I didn't even know you could have your phone at not 24
you
hour.
could choose. But that was good.
That's good.
And then from then on, every single time I woke up at the time for work, I always checked whether it was fucking like AM or PM, just to make sure I didn't make it. If I'd made it all the way to work, like if I'd gone like an hour and a half, 2 buses, all the way,
been great.
So bleak.
yeah, and the shop would have already been open, and people would be doing the late shift.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I was.
You didn't
abducted.
get anal probed at any point.
No, not that I know of.
Are we getting to an anal probing then? Is that where we're going with this?
No, so that's one of the differences between Travis's story and Barney and Betty, because Barney said he got anal probed, which I think is like the famous anal probing.
Yeah. That's what began all
Travis
the anal probings.
Hey?
That's what began all of the anal probings. Like.
I think
he's not making it up, because you wouldn't lie about that. You wouldn't say, the alien took me and he shoved all this shit up my arsehole, and I actually quite liked it, but I've never been there before, but you wouldn't lie about that.
Yeah,
probably not, especially not in those times.
No. Yeah. Betty's like, what the fuck?
Do you reckon that was used at the time? Like, do you reckon he said that to people? He said, look, I wouldn't have said that I got anal probed.
Yeah, maybe.
Was that what his argument hinged on? Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so back to Travis. Where were we? So yeah, he had emotional distress and underwent hypnosis because they thought, maybe there's more to the story. Maybe it's just trauma. Something did happen, and his brain has come up with this thing to try and deal with the trauma. So they put him under hypnosis, but he just recounted the exact same story, same occurrences, same timeline, exactly the same. There's just no difference between what he said when he was awake to under hypnosis.
I love putting him under hypnosis. Do we do shit like that in the UK? Like we're interrogating, hey, let's try hypnotising him.
Well, this wasn't done by the police, although I wish it was.
Right.
But this was done several weeks later when he was.
Oh, fair enough.
He was obviously dealing with
got
all
a good
these.
cop, bad cop, and hypno cop.
He just comes in with
He's got these glasses that just spin like the
This is
demon
what I
head
got from
master.
Little Britain. Look into my eyes. Look into my eyes. Not around the eyes. Look into my eyes. You were raped by an alien, and you're back in the room.
So he stuck to his story. Nothing changed about his story at all. So both of another sort of parallel between the Hills story and Travis's story is that they both experienced phantom time. So there was a large chunk of time missing in their memory. Obviously, in Travis's case, it was a lot bigger, and other people realised he's been missing for 5 days. With, I think, the Hills, it was just their account. They said, yeah, we woke up and it was 6 hours after we remember this flash.
Yeah. And I've been up and down the
yeah.
sea to sea line 5 times.
Up and down the sea to sea line, yeah. Yeah, and they both reported seeing a blinding flash of light and interactions with alien-like beings, although the Hills' recounts were far more substantial. Like I said, there was a lot of probing. And I think that they took some of Barney's semen, so we've got a cum mention in this episode.
Well done, George.
Yeah, no use bemoaning the lack
That
of
wasn't
cum.
intentional, but when they started probing him, it just happened.
It just came out.
Yeah, they hit
we'll
the prostate,
we'll have
and
that as well.
he just went. And, I might as well take some of that as well. So, yeah, you get abducted. What happened? You're like, I came on him. I couldn't help myself. That's what spawns the alien attack. They were actually quite peaceful.
And then, what the fuck, you freak, mate?
He come in his big black eye, and he's like, all right, we're now re-attack.
So all 6 of Walton's companions have stuck to their story ever since. So not one of them have ever changed their story. They've never said, yeah, we made it up. It wasn't how it happened, anything at all. Despite coming under ridicule and scrutiny from their local communities, including some that have even been cut off by their families, and others have lost jobs due to being labelled as the UFO guy, like a UFO lunatic.
Weird.
All of the men, including Walton, were able to describe the exact same light and events, and all passed further polygraph tests. And like his companions since 1975, Travis's stories remained exactly the same. And despite being ridiculed, and he's been interviewed loads and loads of times, including Joe Rogan, his stories remained exactly the same. It's never changed. He's never added anything. Like Bob Lazar, sometimes he's changed or he's adapted the story. His story's changed a little bit, or some things have been added over the years. But yeah, Travis has just said, no, this is what happened. Never has given in to like sensation or anything like that.
I bet George Knapp's interviewed him, hasn't he?
I don't think he has.
Has he not? George Knapp. Yeah. For the uninitiated, George Knapp is like the UFO journalist in America. Like, he didn't start off that way, but he sort of ended up becoming that way, didn't he? And he interviewed a lot of famous. He's big on the Bob Lazar thing. Yeah, he's big to do with the Bob Lazar thing. And I think Bob Lazar like wrote to him or something because he was already a bit like the alien guy. But he really believes Bob Lazar, doesn't he? He's right on it.
Bob Lazar's an interesting one. We've spoken about Bob Lazar before as well, haven't we?
Yeah, we definitely have.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, also on episode 11, the Conspiracy Theory episode.
What an episode. What an episode. We should have talked about this on episode 11 as well. So one other thing that sort of backs up the men. So obviously you've got these 7 men that all say the same thing. They saw this light, they saw this. Obviously Travis says this, at the same time, there was a group of fishermen on Black Canyon Lake, which I forget how far away from the location it is, but it's not too far. It's in the same sort of area. Also reported seeing a glowing light rise from the forest nearby and shoot diagonally off towards the northeast.
Oh,
and they
so they had a
reported seeing
close.
this
They had a first encounter. They had a close encounter of the first kind.
of the first kind, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think it left any trace.
No,
Well, not that they saw.
interference.
Not that they
Yeah.
saw. Yeah.
So they reported seeing this independently. So they reported it to, I think, the Forestry Commission or like the Forest Rangers or something like that. They didn't report it to the police.
Interesting.
So the description matched exactly the same that of Walton's colleagues, who said it sort of rose slowly up and then streaked off diagonally into the sky. And the fishermen and several hunters also in the area reported the light at the same time and have also all since stuck to their stories, despite being ridiculed.
See, that's pretty far out.
Adds credence to it.
It does,
Adds credence, clearable to revival to the story. You know?
Nice, George.
If you saw a light come out of a forest, you saw a light and then poof, off it went, would you report it?
I was about to say,
Right.
we discussed this before. We discussed when would you report something. I think it was when we were talking about sounds, and we were like, it was something to do, maybe sky trumpets, and we were like saying reported, and we were you asked the same question then, like when would you report that?
Yeah.
And I think it's more applicable with sounds, but if you're like in the forest, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wouldn't think to be like, oh, the forest ranger must know about this.
Yeah, but I feel like in America, like if you're like a hunter and you go out there, you just probably regularly
Yeah,
talk
maybe if you
to the
live in
forest
that like,
ranger.
rural sort of forestry area.
Yeah, you and the forest ranger, Travis and the forest ranger,
Yeah.
Logger
What,
Travis.
Travis? Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
Logger Travis.
The logger, yeah.
Yeah.
He's probably called Travis as well, the Forest
Well,
Ranger.
Forest ranger or like Chuck.
Chuck.
The forest ranger, yeah.
That's
Forest
good.
ranger Chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably all know him, didn't they? They probably all know. So like reporting it might be as much as like
Yeah.
picking up, hey Chuck.
Is Chuck short for anything?
Charles, I think.
Ah,
Mhm.
Charlie, Chuck. I think people call Charlie's Chuck.
okay. I've never known a Chuck.
Well, it's quite an American thing. I think.
Yeah.
Chuck, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, okay.
Like Wade.
Who?
Ever met someone called Wade?
Wade. No.
No, there's never been an English person
Mm.
called Wade.
No. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably wouldn't report seeing a light. I'd probably tell people about it.
Yeah, or maybe
Well,
if
of
you
course I'd tell
saw
people
in the
about it,
local news, people,
Yeah.
this man claims he saw a UFO, and you're like, oh, I did actually see something crazy at the same time. Maybe you'd
Yeah.
come out then, but I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't be the first one to come out. Maybe that's the problem,
That's
Yeah.
it, Tom.
How many
Because you
UFO
can't-
sightings have gone unreported because of people like
Very
me?
true. Well, so Lynn and I saw a light in another story that I was going to talk about is Rendlesham Forest. I think we've mentioned Rendlesham Forest as well.
We have, yeah. I want to
on the
go. I want to
episode.
go check it out.
I think so. Yeah, you linked that to
Um,
me, didn't you, Rob? I think.
I think I did. Yeah,
The UFO trail.
yeah.
So I'm
One of
sure
our
we've
mutual
mentioned
friends has been there.
Yeah, so Lynn and I went there, I think 2 years ago. We went camping nearby. And I used to go there camping with my parents as a kid. And my dad used to tell me the story of the Rendlesham Forest incident, which is like the Roswell of the UK,
Yeah.
which is in Suffolk in the UK. So anyway, so there was this big UFO sighting back in, I think, the 80s. I think it was like 1984 or something like that. It was an American airbase in Suffolk, in Rendlesham Forest. And these American servicemen, I think it was like 5 or 6, reported seeing these lights over 2 nights. They went out into the forest following this light, and they said they saw a craft land and then shoot up off into the sky again. And again, they found like burn marks, and it was like a lieutenant or a colonel or something that reported seeing it. So it was a pretty big deal. It wasn't just like Private Chuck.
Gives it more validity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he because it's reputation, right? So he put his reputation on the line to write up this report and try and take it further. But anyway, so this whole thing happened in Rendlesham, and now they've got this UFO trail where you can go through the forest and go to the different locations where things happened. And it's got this really weird vibe anyway in Rendlesham Forest. It's just like a strange, quite a creepy forest. But Lynn and I were camping nearby, and we were both sitting outside by the fire, just chilling, and this like really bright light started flying over, completely silent. And I had, that app where you can look at satellites and planets, and so it shows you the space station and stuff. So I thought, maybe it's the space station. Looked on that app and there was just nothing there. It was massive, like just a big white round ball. It was not a plane, so you couldn't hear anything. It wasn't like a helicopter, it wasn't like a balloon, it wasn't like a flare or something like that. This massive light just flew slowly in one direction all the way across the sky and just disappeared. Weird. Don't know what it was. It might have been a satellite that wasn't on my app, potentially, maybe. But just very strange, very odd.
Did you report it?
Yeah, did you report it?
I didn't. No, that's what I was getting to. I didn't report it, and I should have done because that was in the Roswell of the UK.
What's the chances though of seeing it in the same? I guess the chances are higher because that's where the activity is.
Maybe
it's because they knew that there was a believer there, Rob, and they were like, "Let's get a show."
Yeah, my stepmom actually called the police for a potential UFO sighting.
Oh, brilliant! I like this.
And it was just out the back of their.
Get her on the pod. Phone her up now. Get her on.
At the back of their at the back of the house, they've got big glass patio doors, and she said she was just sitting there in the evening. And she saw like it was like a spinning disc of like multiple different colours, all like blue, yellow, red, whatever, and it's just spinning in the sky and kind of like moving about, maybe like left to right, and it was just like flashing lights, whatever. And she was like, "That's mad!" Like, and she said she called the police and said like, "This sounds crazy, but there's something floating in the sky, loads of lights. Like I don't know what it is. It's obviously not a helicopter or anything. Like I don't know." And she said the person on the other end was like, "Okay, like we'll make a note of it, and if anyone's in the area and not got anything going on, they'll see what it is." She's like, "Yeah, I just want to like, just so if anything does happen." Like if there is an alien attack, I reported it first, kind of thing. And I don't know how they found out what it was. I think they might have seen it again during the day. It was basically one of their neighbours has a kite that has this weird spinning. It's basically meant to look like a UFO. It's a kite that you fly at night, and it has these spinning lights on it, and the lights all flash different colours and it spins around, and obviously it blows in the wind, so it moves in like really weird kind of ways that would be unnatural for like a spaceship or a plane or whatever. It was basically something that's meant to look like a UFO did look like a UFO.
I wonder now how many. But I wonder how many now are either don't get reported because people just go, "Oh, that's a drone," or something does get reported and the police go, "Well, that's just a drone." Because I remember being out in my back garden once when I say younger, not younger, just young enough to still be living at home. It might have been fairly recently actually when I was back at home for an intermediate stage. It was night and someone was flying a drone. But like when I first saw it, like it was quite far away, so I didn't hear it, and I just saw these like lights blipping in the sky. And it's only as I got a little near, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And I only got a bit nearer, and I could hear it, and then I sort of clocked and worked out, "Oh, that's some fucker flying a drone."
Well, like we had that story. I don't know which one of you wasn't here. It was the episode where Luke East was on, and I
think it was me here.
And
I think I was
there was a police officer who called for backup because she thought she was being chased by a drone, but it was actually a Jupiter.
Oh yeah,
it was just Jupiter was pretty big that night, and it's just I guess it's just a star basically, and I know Jupiter's not a star, but it looks like a star in the sky. She said it was a drone and called for backup.
Was she in America?
Yeah,
it's great.
I love it. I mean, I can remember when I was younger seeing this weird. I've said it on the podcast before. I saw a weird craft flying in the sky at Fobbing Park. This weird grey thing flying in the sky. It wasn't a plane. It was completely silent, and it just zoomed past. And that was way before drones. It was big, it was big as well. It was like the size of a plane, but it was completely not shaped like a plane. It was like sort of a long diagonal, not like a triangle, but like a diagonal sort of thing. And it just went past. But again, now I don't know whether I did see that or whether I misremembered, but I can remember being convinced.
Yeah.
Like indulged a little bit, yeah.
But I love it.
Anything else about Travis the logger?
So
that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So I mean, the only other thing was that obviously some people tried to come up with other theories about what it was, not aliens, whatever. Like I said, some people said it was just like the whole alien thing was his mind going into like survival mode and thinking, okay, there's trauma, maybe he just needs to shut down, and he just went into this weird unconscious state for 5 days or 2 days or a day, and then sort of unconsciously made his way to a road, and that's when he sort of came to and was found again.
But what's their argument there saying what did happen to him then? Like, so his mates did fuck him up, or?
So either his mates fucked him up, but then why would he report the same thing?
Yeah.
Or the biggest sort of theory against it is the whole lightning thing. So I mentioned earlier, people think it was like a lightning strike that obviously knocked him unconscious and burnt the stump, burnt the sort of local area, would cause a bright flash. And obviously that sort of fits a little bit. The only thing that doesn't fit is they reported seeing a craft or like a glowing ship in this clearing. But one thing that other people said it could be is, I don't know if you've heard of ball lightning, which is this really sort of rare phenomena where, it's what it sounds like. It's just a ball of lightning that hangs in the sky.
Yeah. I thought you said ball as in like the animal.
No. Yeah, ball lightning. Yeah. So it could have been that. It could have been. I think it's only ever been reported as happening like once in the whole of, recorded science or something. It might not even be. I think it's on the verge of being like pseudoscience.
Wow.
But yeah, apparently this thing called ball lightning. It would maybe. That's why there was this glow in the forest. Why the buzzing sound was there, because it's obviously energy. It's like electricity, right? Lightning.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
So yeah, you'd have that build up of static and stuff, and then when it does strike, obviously that would be the flash in it. I don't know how ball lightning works, whether it flies away or it disappears, and it might look like it's risen up into the sky, which is pretty plausible. But I mean, I prefer
for all those people
theory
to see the same thing.
Yeah,
if it moving
strange.
away.
I mean, that's what because I mean. It hasn't really got much merit to it. People saying, I saw a UFO, I saw this, I saw that, I got abducted by aliens, they stuck a rod up my bumhole and all that sort of stuff. But the fact that 7 people reported seeing the same thing and have never changed their story, even though some of them have lost their jobs, it to me is like pretty interesting. Just that as
that is interesting,
as a phenomenon. But it was 1975, so what's that, like 42 years or something?
Can't work that out.
Maths isn't good enough.
It's incalculable.
But it's like it's a long
some
period
kind
of time
genius to work that
out. Which I like, and I recommend people to watch the interview with Joe Rogan because he talks about it. And he's got some
we'll get him on here and
about,
get it firsthand.
Oh yeah, he's got some interesting theories on aliens, and what he doesn't think they're malicious, because if they were going to do anything, they would have done it. Which is quite a good way of thinking about it.
It is true.
I'm just waiting for the right
but yeah,
time.
so he's interesting guy. Some people say that he seems trustworthy. Some people say that he doesn't make a lot of eye contact. People say he's making it up, but again, it could be down to it being traumatic. He still says that it's a traumatic experience and it's completely changed his life. I think he had a lot of like hard times after. Before his life was going pretty well, and afterwards it's been pretty shit. So, yeah, I think it's interesting.
It is interesting.
And who doesn't love a good alien abduction story?
Certainly not me. As in, it's not me that doesn't love it. That was a strange. Cool. I think I said that correctly. Just your.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was good. Thanks, George.
Was it better than you thought, Tom?
Yeah. Because before we started recording, you just said, Tom, you're gonna love this one, or Tom, you're gonna hate me after this, or like. So yeah, I thought it was gonna be shit.
Well, so I was considering talking about ghosts, and I was considering talking about Bigfoot, because even though we've had Bigfoot weird news stories, we've not actually had a deep dive into Bigfoot. You know, into some of the mythos.
I think I've said it before. Wait until I can't make it one day, and you can do that one.
I know that Rob's well up for talking about Bigfoot.
I'm up for talking about Bigfoot. Yeah.
So.
Yep, that was good.
Right.
I would
nice one,
rate that episode 5 stars on Spotify.
Yeah,
I would as well.
Except for,
good
I already have rated. I think I'm the only one actually. I'm the first person to rate us 5 stars on Spotify.
Nice.
You can be the second. Let's get those stars up there. It doesn't like publish your average star rating until it says just until enough people have rated it. So I don't know how many that is. We test it out. As many of you rate us on Spotify, and also if you haven't done already on Apple Podcasts, and like us on YouTube and shit like that.
All right, peace. Thanks a lot, George.
Bye. That was Curios Cast episode 64.